Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Sabrina Zohar Show. My name is Sabrina Zohar, and I am your host. Hi, babes. Welcome back. I gotta figure out a new intro, right? Like I say hello, hello, and then I'm like, y'all might be sick of me, but here we are, right? I'm so excited. We have another week together. And today we have a very special guest. We got my girl, my friend. I could say that because I love her like a friend and I love her as a human. Kamie Crawford is here. The one and only Kamie from Catfish, and one of the most beautiful, stunning, incredible women I have met inside and out. We're not even talking about the exterior. And we are talking about catfishing, dating somebody with a child, red flags in relationships. And this was one of my favorite episodes because we were able to just chat and have fun. And I'm hopeful that you guys really learn a lot from this because Kamie is so wise and so insightful. And she has seen a lot as well, even in Catfish and doing the show. But she's just an amazing human being. So I'm super excited. I'm on her podcast, Relationship. She's on the Sabrina Zohar Show. So we're having a fun little swap. And I'm just so excited for you guys to learn more about Kamie and to have more time with her. So guys, as always, thank you for all the support. Thank you for the reviews. Please, guys, don't forget, rate and review the show wherever you listen, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, doesn't really matter. And please don't forget to share it with your friends and follow the show. If you click follow, it'll auto-download the episodes for you and you'll never miss a week with us. And guys, as always, if you need anything, link in show notes. Where am I? And the link in the show notes will bring you to the Stand Store, which has some free guides. You can work one-on-one, ask a question, join the breakup course or the foundation course. If you bundle them, you save some loot. And there's just something for everybody. So whatever you guys need, it's there. And last but not least, thank you to our sponsors for supporting us. Guys, please, if you're listening and you're not ad-free, please support our sponsors. They're all brands I personally work with and use, so I would never steer you guys wrong. And if you guys are ad-free, thank you for being a subscriber. Don't forget, you guys get to choose what you want the episodes to be on. So you get to ask me and Tech Guy anything, and you can request custom episodes, whatever you want to see. You let us know. So guys, thank you. As always, thank you for everything. And thank you for showing up as yourself. So you allow me to show up as myself as well. So without further ado, let's get right on into it, shall we? Kamie girl,
hey.
Welcome to the Sabrina Zohar Show. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe we get to do this twice in like the same year.
I'm so excited because your podcast, Relationship, one of my faves, will be on there soon. And then people can come and listen to you here. Different topics, which will be fun.
Yes.
But for anybody who doesn't know who you are, which I don't know who those people are, could you please just introduce yourself so that everyone knows who Kamie is?
Yes. Well, I am Kamie Crawford. I am that girl. I am a TV host. I host the show Catfish, but then I also host the show Are You the One and X on the Beach. And then I have a podcast called Relationship, which is a relationship advice podcast where we talk about all things relationships, the good, the bad, and the straight up shitty. That's my little tagline. I hope you're impressed by it because I came up with it myself.
I was like, that was off the tongue and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I mean, I've done like a lot in the influencer space. I was a beauty queen back in the day. I'm a former Miss Teen USA. There's a lot of things that like I think about, like I feel like as we get through this conversation, more things are going to pop up, and because I just forget sometimes the things that I've done because I've always been someone who wears a million different hats.
I totally understand that. Now, did you ever notice, because like you were single, you dated.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice, like, did you lean secure, anxious, avoidant? Like, how do you normally find yourself leaning? Because it's like you are such a beautiful, confident woman, but it's like, what's under the hood? Like, I think that's what this show is really about is like, let's be real. It's like, where have you kind of laid on that?
I think I thought that I was secure for a long time. And then I had someone on my podcast that was an attachment style expert. And I realized that I had some anxious qualities about me. I grew up, my biological father left when I was 5. And it's so crazy, the things that come with that, like the things that come with not having a present parent in your life. And I don't know why I say that it's crazy because obviously like that's what it would result in. But I think daddy issues, quote unquote, for lack of a better phrase or term that we've been able to create for all of these years, somehow, some way, it always lands on the child's fault. But it's actually the fault of the parent. It manifests itself in different ways. And so, for some of my friends who had similar things going on in their past and, with their parent, it would be, that they were more promiscuous. For me, it was very like, no one is allowed in. And if you think about leaving, I will open the door for you. Like, you don't even have to worry about it. But then I also realized that when I was in certain situations, even now in my very healthy relationship, which I feel like teaches you a lot about yourself,
Oh, yeah.
probably more than you even realize. I realized that any instance where it seemed like my boyfriend wasn't on my side about something, or, leaving during an argument, like those things send me into orbit. So I realized that there were some anxious attachment style things that were popping up, but I think I'm moving more into secure, through
Yeah.
therapy and just like growth, and recognizing it, I think, is like the first step. So
If you can't even recognize it, you're fucked off the bat, right?
Yeah.
You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like when I met Ryan, because like I don't know about you. I always like to ask as well. I'm like, what annoys you on the internet these days? Like, what are those misconceptions
Everything.
right? Yeah.
Everyone.
Life story.
All
But for me
people.
though, like there's a huge creator that everybody knows, made a video of how like avoidance are just the worst people and they're the dangerous ones and all this. And it's like,
Ooh.
I'm sorry. One, what that here is, so anybody with anxiety, oh no, you're fine. Oh yeah, everything you do, all of your
Yeah.
protest behavior, all of your bullshit. She was her, so
Yeah.
I'm not exactly a calling shade to anybody besides myself. I had copious amounts of bullshit, my protest behavior, the way that I would behave. And so when I met my partner, because I'm curious with your boyfriend where he kind of leans, but when I met Ryan, it wasn't that all of a sudden you're like, oh, secure. Now I'm
No.
secure. Ta-da.
No.
No. But you start to learn like, oh, like you said, you walking out in an argument, that doesn't work. Right. So this person doesn't walk out and now you can talk. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, so that's how. And I feel like we also need to kind of normalize that, like, I don't want to hear anybody diagnose. If somebody walks out in the middle of an argument or if something, that's just disrespectful.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Exactly.
fucked up. No wonder you're
And
going to feel
childish.
anxious.
Yeah. Right.
So but where's your boyfriend lie?
I think he's probably on the same side as me. Like
Okay.
he's also done a lot of self-work too, which is super helpful. And he's a dad. He has a teenage daughter. And so I think that also, kind of paints a good picture of like how he responds to me, even sometimes, even when I am being a little bratty, like a teenage girl. he knows
got the
experience.
experience.
Yes, he knows how to deal with it. And he knows how to like work through conversations. But he too has had situations where like I might trigger him in a way, and we have conversations about it. Like I tell my friends, my sisters, like, you don't have to fight in relationships. Like that's not.
You can disagree.
You can disagree. We disagree. But we don't argue in the sense of like we're yelling at each other. If we disagree, our conversations of something like a quote unquote argument would be like, I really didn't like when you said that. That really hurt my feelings. I don't think that you meant to hurt my feelings, but it actually did. And here's why. Those are the conversations that we have. And I think that we have very similar ways of communicating, which I think is probably based in our upbringings and our past and parent trauma and things like that. And I think that it just works. It works versus working against each other. We work together really well on that.
Which is so beautiful. And like something to highlight too is like, yeah, the people that you're dating that walk out or that do that, it's like, stop accepting it, stop allowing it.
Yeah.
And get really excited about like a partner that could show up for you, a partner that'll be consistent. I know it sounds crazy. I did not have a father like that either, but it does exist. We just have to be open. Now I'm curious though, dating someone with a kid, she's older, so it's not like you had a child, but what was that experience like? Because there's a lot of my girls that are single and like, how do you date with a child, the timing, all that, like, did that impact with like scheduling?
Well, you know what's crazy? I grew up, even though, like I said, my biological father left when I was 5. My mom married my dad who raised me when I was around 5 as well. They met when I was 2. They got married when I was 5. And my dad, so my mom came in with me. My dad also came in with a daughter, and then they had 4 together. So we already have a blended family.
Yeah.
But our parents always taught us to only have children within a marriage and not to have, like, don't date anyone with children from outside of your relationship. It was like ingrained in my brain my whole entire life. And so but I've never really felt that way. Like I wasn't really aligned with that necessarily. I think once I turned 30, I was like, okay, I'm in the dating space. Everybody, for the most part, it seems like has at least one.
Right. When you're in your 30s, you're like,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm 30 and I meet a guy who's like 38 and he's never been married, never been engaged, doesn't have any children, I'm looking at him a little crazy because I'm like,
what's the problem?
why did anybody want to have your baby, sir? So I I never really felt that way, like the same way as my parents did. I think that they were saying it more so out of like fear and experience and like, the drama that comes along with some of those experiences. I don't know. Immediately when my boyfriend told me, which it was our first date, I was on board. Like, I was like, if anybody knows how to understand a child who is in this kind of situation, who is between blended families, it's me. Like, I get it 1000%. And I was very adamant from the beginning because I felt like when I was a kid, I didn't have a choice as to whether or not I wanted to meet the women that my biological father was dating. Every time I would go on visitation with him, he would have another woman there and she would have a kid.
Me too.
Huh.
I say
Is there a term for that?
Just a shitty father.
I was going to say bullshit parenting.
Bullshit parent. I had the same, like, to the point where my mom, the pendulum swung. My mom never brought anybody that she dated. She dated like 3 people. She was not, because she wanted family unit, all that. That was her trauma. My dad is to the point where, like, he'll be with a woman and then on Tinder in front of you being like, what do you think of her? And I'm like, oh my God, you're the people I avoid like the fucking plague. He'll have multiple girlfriends every night. There's a new woman that shows up. It's our family vacation. It was the first time all of us were together in like 10 years and he's bringing a random woman every night. So I totally can understand. And I can...
It's crazy.
And that's why, did you know Psychology Today actually recommends that you should wait 9 to 12 months in order to introduce your child? I think young children, 1,000%.
Yes. Because how do you know that this person is even normal? And how do you know that they're safe? Like, when I look back on it now, I think as an adult woman, there's no way in fucking hell
not a shot
I would ever be with a man who was so comfortable to bring me around his young 3-year-old child and just dump my child with them. Like, that was my experience. I would be locked in a room with some random stranger's child who only knows what they've been exposed to. Luckily, nothing ever happened to me. I was never put in any kind of unsafe situation. But imagine had that child experienced anything abuse-wise and then inflicted that upon me. You put the child in a really bad position and an unsafe territory. And it was something that I had to kind of confront, I think, within the past few years, because I just never really thought about it. When I first got the opportunity to meet my boyfriend's daughter, I was very adamant that I wanted it to be her choice, that she could make the decision. And I was also very vocal about the fact that I wanted her mom to also know that she was going to be meeting me, because my mom had no idea. I didn't tell my mom until literally a couple of years ago what was happening when I would go and visit my biological father on those visitations, because she would have burnt the fucking house down.
I was like, she would have been like, wait, real quick, where did you and your boyfriend meet?
We met on Raya.
So you did? Okay, you met online.
Yeah.
Okay.
We met online.
Same, we met on Hinge. So I'm like, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's not. You can meet somebody online and they could have kids.
Yeah.
And guess what? Everything's great.
I know one of my followers, she messaged me and she's like, so I got all over to the apps and I tried this on like in-person dating that everyone keeps saying. And she's like, it's the same fucking thing. It's just we're meeting in person. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know where this stigma came. Sorry.
I know. Well, it's because there's a lot of creeps on there and a lot of weirdos. And I've heard the Hinge voice recordings that people can like leave, and they're very, very scary.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Guys, have you noticed that kids are always growing, evolving, learning, but yet as adults, we don't really seem to have that same kind of curiosity, right? And curiosity, that's such a word that I love to use. Get curious about yourself, other people, what we're doing, why we're doing things. It keeps things interesting. And that's why I love therapy, is because that is the place that you can get the most curious about yourself, about what's going on, about your patterns, about your life, about everything that's happening in a really safe space. I love BetterHelp because, listen, I get it. Not everybody has access to therapy and not everybody has access to the right therapist. And BetterHelp makes it as easy as possible to go online, make a profile, match with a therapist, to have a chat, see if they work for you. If not, you can always press change therapist and find somebody new. You can message your therapist throughout any of your sessions. I still do that to this day with my therapist anytime I can't talk to them. That way I can at least get it off of my head and onto paper. So guys, rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. So visit betterhelp.com/Sabrina today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Sabrina. Dating with a child, either whether you have one or you're dating somebody with one, I believe the way that you did it is so important to share because it really is respect and it really is making sure, because at the end of the day, the fucking kid, you chose to have a child.
Yeah.
So please care about the child.
Yes. And if you're choosing to date someone with a child, then you choose what comes with that. So if for whatever reason, like luckily in our situation, his daughter was so excited to meet me and like we spent the whole summer together and now we're spending another summer together and like we're great.
Awesome.
But in the event that she said no, I would have respected that. That wouldn't have been anything against him or her mom or anything. She is him. She is half of him. And because of that, I will love her and I will respect her regardless of anything. For me, it was just like a no-brainer. And I think he really appreciated that because we've talked about the fact that, he has been on dates with women where he mentions the fact that he has a daughter and immediately it's like radio silence. Like they're done. And I get that because I've heard that. But like even with my family, they immediately, once they met him and they knew that this was a thing, they were on board. My mom asked about his daughter just as much as she asked about me. It's just, it just works. Yeah, I tell all my friends to get them a zaddy because how are you going to find that like has the emotional, and I'm not saying that all dads have this because my biological father certainly fucking didn't.
Yeah,
but like, where are you going to find a man who has the emotional intelligence and like the compassion and the patience? My boyfriend never rushes me.
Yeah.
He knows if I say I'll be ready in 5 minutes, I actually mean 20.
Yeah, he's like, let me double that.
Yeah.
Triple that. He understands you.
There's never been a time where I'm like in the bathroom getting ready and he's like, babe, like, what? We have to go. He's just like, how much longer do you think?
Because he has a daughter. So he's like, this is not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I've dated many a men with kids because I came from the same thing with like just like a culture, like a background. Because I get it. Like my cousin married a guy with kids and like had to deal with the bullshit that came with it.
And sometimes that is, listen, baby mama drama is real. I'm not here to like say that does not exist.
Yeah. But like I do believe, I also think age, right?
Yeah.
Like a 16-year-old, 15, 16, when you're met, it's very different than a 2-year-old. That you're
and
like,
I did tell him that if we had met and she was like a 2 or 3, I would have been like, I really think you should go make things work with her mom.
Right.
Because I am all about like that. I'm not about people staying in relationships that clearly make them unhappy, but like I'm here for trying to work through things and like work it out. So I think the scenario just was the perfect situation for both of us.
You're like me, we're in our 30s now. Mm-hmm. What have you seen was the biggest difference between dating in your 20s versus your 30s? You go first. Yeah.
For me personally, when I was dating in my 20s, I wasn't thinking long term. Like I was talking about a future with partners that I had before and, relationships that I had before, boyfriends that I had before, but I was not actually thinking about what that would look like.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. Like I talked about marriage with like 3 of my ex-boyfriends, but I never actually thought about what being married to them would be like, what like being their wife would be like, what them being my husband would be like, what having kids together would be like, what merging our families together would be like. I never thought about that until I met my boyfriend now.
So you know what's interesting? Because I've been watching the new Too Hot to Handle. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be honest, I don't love the way that they shook it up. I don't know if you've watched the new season. They completely changed a lot of things. Like they all know that they're coming to the retreat. Like it's all completely different. But the one thing that you notice is a couple of things. One, don't love the people that they chose. That's the first thing. But the second thing is they're all very young. You can see there's one girl that's 27 and all the other ones are like 22, 23. Like,
why is it whenever there's like a 27-year-old, they act like she's like the old one of the group?
Right, yeah. Whoa, she's over the hill. But you know what I noticed? So if we look at brain, like I'm big on neuroscience. I've been nerding the fuck out on it. So if we look at the brain, the amygdala stopped growing when you're 6, which is where we hold on to fear and kind of like that's where we can get back to like the amygdala hijack is the term, but like that's where you kind of feel like a kid, right? So when you react or you're like, wow, I'm feeling very fanciful like a child. But then the prefrontal cortex, that didn't stop growing until you're 28, which is why when we get into our 30s, we're using logical thinking. So that's why, you're like, oh, I never really thought of any of those things. It's like, because this wasn't formed. Now the executive functioning is on and you're like, wait, whoa, what does that mean if I say I want to get married to you? Because we've turned on our prefrontal cortex and now that's starting to work. You can see it on the show. The 22, 23-year-olds are very like, I know this will hurt her, But I'm going to do it anyways because I'm horny.
Yeah.
Girl that's 27, she stops and you can see her. She's like, but you can see her actually weighing it out.
Crazy.
It's wild. That's why youth is wasted on the young.
It is.
But when you're in your 20s, I know for me, like I was a fucking hot mess. I thought I had all the time in the world. Oh, whatever. I could date all the hotties. You're just chasing after stupid shit. He's hot. He has a six-pack. Until you're in your 30s and you're like, that six-pack went away and is a beer gut now.
Yeah.
They lost their fucking hairline. Like all of that.
So when he has a car, okay? Now you also have a car.
Exactly.
So
a nicer one.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? But they always talk about like the frontal lobe that doesn't develop until you're 25, but
28.
like, it's 28.
Yeah. The prefrontal cortex. So that's that decision-making common sense.
That's the same thing.
Ah. That's why your 30s become totally different. That's what week 29. I don't know if you. For me, I started to feel a little different.
Yes,
the minute I
did.
hit 30, I was like,
yeah,
I know what I want. Because your prefrontal cortex is consistently more online. It's fully formed.
But then does it change again when you turn like 40? Because women in their 40s talk about how like the whole world opens up for them at
Probably.
40.
I've heard 40s are your new 30s.
That's what I've heard.
Everyone keeps saying how amazing it is. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
I'm excited. I was excited for 30.
Same. So the way that my friend, she's Britt Frank, neuropsychotherapist. I talk about it all the time because she's just so fucking brilliant with this. That she used an example that made so much fucking sense to me about how this all works and the functioning. Think of it like an office building. Your prefrontal cortex is all the executives at the top that are in their shiny suits and everybody. And so they're all the Kammies that are like, I know everything and I know all of this. And they're controlling everything correctly. But then when you get dysregulated or something causes, your body to feel like there's a threat, when that shuts off, imagine all of that, everything under it is what's controlling. So the inmates are running the asylum. And so that's why all of those parts of you, the 20-year-old, the 22-year-old, the 10-year-old, they're all coming out because they're trying to have their say. And so now that's why you're like, actually no. So when you kind of learn how to regulate, we learn how to turn our prefrontal cortex on. I started to implement future me of like, no, you know what? I know I'm going to be tired when I get back from that. It's not worth me driving for 2 hours to go do that. Versus when you're 20, you're like, I'll be out all night. Who cares? I have to work in the morning. I'll be fine.
That's so true.
Isn't it fucking crazy?
The shit that I would have done in my early 20s when I was in college, like I showed up to class wasted.
Oh, yeah.
Wasted.
Like alcohol, like I smelled like it because it was coming out of my pores just to do it all over again that night.
Yeah.
Like,
because YOLO. No, but like really, YOLO, you only live once and you should really tone it the fuck down.
Yeah. Vitamins and some fucking sleep, okay?
That's
Get to bed
all
by
you
8.
need. It's so crazy how like everything changes. Everything changes. That's why I will tell my sisters, I'm like, do it while you're young.
Yeah.
Do it while you're young.
You're in your 20s. Enjoy it. Your prefrontal cortex isn't done. Just wait. This episode is brought to you by Horoscope Weekly. Babes, I know you're like me. I look at my horoscope every single week. Don't tell tech guy. But I do. I love it. I am always so interested in what's happening in the stars and the cosmos. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you guys a podcast called Horoscope Weekly. It is hosted by the brilliant author and astrologer, Eliza Kelly. And Horoscope Weekly takes you on an insightful and personalized cosmic journey. So every week, Eliza interprets the latest astrological events, bringing you cosmic insights for the week ahead, along with detailed guidance on what you should expect this week based on your unique zodiac sign. So talk about like, if I'm a Taurus, right? As a Taurus, you should look out for this. Or as a Taurus, you could maybe have this. Like, I do believe in stuff like that. I do believe that the stars sometimes conspire against us or with us when it's Mercury retrograde. And it's really important for us to just know what lies ahead. It can help with your career, with your dating, your love life. And if it's something that you believe in, babes, we have something for you that you can listen into every single week and learn something. So whether you're an astrology enthusiast or a curious newcomer, let Horoscope Weekly with Eliza be your guide through the stars. So guys, new episode releases every Monday wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Horoscope Weekly with Eliza Kelly. Okay, let's get back to the question I asked you earlier that my ADHD segued from. What is shit? Because we've got relationship, right? So you have your own version of talking about stuff. What are things that really piss you off in the dating world right now? I am curious.
I hate the fact that I have, and I'm just speaking in the binaries right now, but I hate the fact that I have so many beautiful female friends who are smart, who are educated, who are hot, who are
all of the things,
who cannot go on a good date to save their lives because there are so many men out here, straight men, who think that they are the prize and the princess of the group.
Especially in LA. Especially it's very main character energy.
It's very scary to me. Yeah. But I have been thinking about this more and more and just trying to like, I think it's my Libra moon. I'm just like, what is the reason? Like, why is this happening? I feel like there's so much confusion in like roles, quote unquote. And I know people now like hate those terms of like, there should be no roles. Like it should always be 50-50, blah, blah, blah. Fuck all that.
No.
I don't want to be fucking 50-50 with you. 50-50 in the sense that like, yes, we have 50-50 respect. It's mutual respect. But there are things that I need my man to do. I need my man to open the door. I need my man to get the suitcases out the car. I need my man to reach on the top shelf and get the motherfucking jar or whatever it is.
Right.
I don't need those responsibilities.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm cool with my man he makes my drink every morning. He makes it, he does those little things. It's so funny. We have a role reversal. Like he cooks, he cleans, he does so many things around the house. It's fantastic.
Yeah, my man cooks too, all the time.
All the time. It's every night you come down and you're like, for me?
Yes.
Oh, little old me, I'm not going to faint tonight. I'm with you. And that is... And like
a damsel.
I do.
I feel like a damsel.
I could order in, but here we are. And I think it's so true because like what I see is a lot of like somebody wrote in the other day, perfect example of I think there's a lot of confusion. And he said, I really like this woman I'm dating. Mine again, we are talking in gender norms because that's just what we're dealing with. But I'm fairly certain if you're a man listening to this, you can apply this to yourself depending on who you date. I don't really care as long as they're 18 and older and they consent. That's all I care about. I really don't. Anything else. It's so sad I have to say 18 and older, but here we are.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, so he wrote in and said, I really like this girl and I really want to make her my girlfriend. And so, of course, I'm like, great, talk to her, have a conversation. And he goes, but I've been seeing all this content online saying that the woman needs to be the one to say it, that the men look weak and that I'm confused. What do I do?
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is the issue. There's all of this like, to be a high value woman, you need to do this and to be, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
I fucking hate that high value woman content. And the high value man content.
I hate all of it.
Like, please.
I hate all of it because apparently your value is because I go to dinner with you, but not coffee. There's literally a woman she's a coach, a therapist, and that's what concerns me. Yes, licensed. And her thing was a coffee date. A man will never respect you. Don't you ever sleep. And I'm like, I fucked my boyfriend on the first date. We went on a hike date. We did all the things. And like now we live together and we're moving into another home and we're talking about potentially getting married. Like we're fine. We have got to fucking stop. But that, you know what I hear? Black and white thinking. If it's not this, then it's this. It's shame and it's all of this like deep-rooted misogyny. Yeah. That's what gets my goat.
Yeah. And a lot of times you have to be very careful because sometimes the people who are giving you this advice aren't even in relationships. No.
That's
and never have.
That's always the comical
part. Never have been in long-term relationships and they're on this pedestal. Like, and obviously I have a relationship advice podcast. I'm not sitting here saying that I don't also sit on a pedestal and give advice, but like I try not to like yuck anyone's yum, but I do feel like
I love that.
I do feel like we have lost the plot. Like there is a miscommunication happening that we're trying to get on board with. I also, at the same token, like I do feel like it's hard for guys. A lot of times they don't really know how to approach, what's the right way to approach that guy that wrote in. Like, is it okay if I say something? Should she be the one to do it?
If I touch her, is that inappropriate?
Right. And I feel like we know that there are limits. We know that consent is real and should always be implemented in every single thing that we do. And yet there's this like fear of like, should I approach her? Should I not approach her? No, she should be the one approaching me. And it's like, okay, fine. I'm for a woman, standing on business, doing what she wants to do. If she wants to approach him, she absolutely should. I think that that's completely fair. But then I have a lot of women friends who are like, no, like if they don't meet every single one of my expectations, every single one of my standards, it's an absolute no. Like I'm not interested. I don't need a man. Okay.
To me, what I hear from that, fear. I hear the underbelly of that is I don't want to put myself out there. If you're not perfect how I need you, and it's like, so those are the standards you hold for yourself. Yes. I have to be perfect. I have to do everything right. And my heart goes out because I think so many people, especially these lists, like my brother always says, like, burn your fucking checklist. Get rid of your shit. And he's like, cool, the only checklist you should have is like, how do I want to feel with this person? Like you said with your partner, like he gives me space. Yeah. He holds space for me. He allows me to be myself. It's like, that's the checklist that we want to hold on to. Yeah. But yet all of a sudden, I don't know about you, I'm sure you get written into every fucking day. And I'll get the same kind of, and it breaks my heart because my heart goes out for the people writing into this of like, this person checked all my boxes and they're so amazing and they're perfect. And already when I see perfect, I'm like, nah, we've gone off the track.
Yeah.
but he's perfect, all these things. But then after, and it's like, but, he doesn't want a relationship with me. And he doesn't actually, he walks out every time we have an argument. And he's super dismissive. And he doesn't have the emotional bandwidth. But what do? I'm in love with him. And you're like,
stop.
Please. Because it's like, we forget, like you said, your friends that are beautiful and successful and all of these, we forget what we also bring. And it's not, I hate the what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
But literally, I'm bringing all of these things. You have every right to say, I want someone to match that.
Yeah.
But there's the pendulum swinging too severely when, yes, I want you to match that. Then we also get, but if you're not exactly what I want, okay, not too far to the left.
Yeah.
And then when it's, oh, well, I have no boundaries and you could do anything. Okay, too far to the right. We need to kind of come back to the middle. I feel like we've lost that.
We have. We really have. The problem is, I say this, but I don't know how we can fix it.
Oh, I have no fucking clue.
I feel like we all have to collectively we need to make a relationship convention of every single person who's trying to date, and everybody gets together and we all come to a consensus and we all vote on it.
It's like a school test. Yeah. That you have to take it in order to graduate.
Yes.
God forbid in school they taught us things like, we should have learned anything that we cared about.
Yeah.
But okay, let's get to the elephant in the room here. Catfishing.
Yes.
That's
the other problem with dating.
That's the other problem. You have the show, so of course there's a lot of data.
Yeah.
Great. I want to talk though about, somebody asked me, I didn't know about this, so I'm curious if you do. Maybe this is, oh my God, I'm about to say, is this what the kids are talking about?
This is what the kids are saying
your boyfriend has a daughter that's that
Yeah.
age, so I'm like, maybe you know.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the difference between kitten fishing and catfishing, and I was like, okay, please. Oh my God. It happened. It's here. I'm old. Okay, what's kitten fishing versus catfishing?
There's hat fishing.
Okay, I've been hat fished.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of different pieces and elements under the umbrella. But kitten fishing is the little things that you can do. So I kitten fish all day, and I always say life is a catfish. No one is giving you their raw, unedited, unvarnished bullshit. Nobody's doing that. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody's going on a first date being like, yeah, so I've got daddy issues, trust issues. You want to date me?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's doing that.
By the way, my card's gonna bounce, but you're cool, right?
Exactly. Hello. Nobody's doing that. But kitten fishing is the little things that we do. So Facetune, a little bit of Facetune. I love a little edit. I don't know about everybody else, but I am here for it.
I filter. I filter for skin tone.
Give me a fucking retouch. I don't give a shit. I want my picture to look how I look in person. And let me tell you something, that new iPhone is not giving what it gives in person. Okay?
Thank you. I thought it was just me.
No, I take that picture and I look crusty and grungy.
And you don't look like that to me right now.
Thank you.
No.
I tried to take a selfie in the car. I was like, am I the ugliest person I've ever seen? Yes. This is what I'm saying. But then I look in the mirror, I'm like, am I the most gorgeous person I've ever seen? Yes. So who's being honest? Me or a phone?
It's apples to blame.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you use FaceApp, Facetune, whatever, a little bit, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying you should do a whole body recontouring, but if you want to take out your giant forehead zit, cool.
Go ahead.
But kitten fishing, that would be that.
So it's a little small, it's like a white lie, essentially.
Yeah, a little white lie. Or when you sent in your resume for a new job and you said proficient in Excel.
You graduated from school when you didn't. Yeah, those little things.
Hi.
Whoops.
We all did it. I think I put on my Miss Teen USA paperwork that I was fluent in Spanish. I think at the time I was becoming more fluent in Spanish. But if I had booked a job that required me to speak full on Spanish, I'm conversational, but I'm not fluent. Right. Kitten fishing. We're all guilty of it. I feel like we all do it a little bit.
And then we go to the extremes of catfishing being straight up, that's
totally
not the person.
This episode is brought to you by Armra Colostrum. Guys, I was actually new to colostrum within the last couple of years, and I had no idea how beneficial it is. So colostrum evolved 300 million years ago and is the first milk all mammals produce. So it's the first nutrients we receive in life. And there's over 400 functional nutrients, and Armra harnesses the power of humans' original bioactive food. So it hosts the proactive antibodies. Honestly, Armra is amazing. I could go into it and go into the science of it and the different compounds and how your body sources it. But at the end of the day, I am obsessed with Armra. The biggest thing that I have seen when I've been using it is my strengthened immunity. It really optimizes my whole body microbiome, and it strengthens your immune barriers along with the mouth, sinuses, lungs, gut, urinary, reproductive tract, you name it. So it helps support your immune system against unwelcome particles. I love it because it helps with your gut health. It helps with your hair growth, and it helps with my skin. Like I've been glowing, and also it really helps fuel my performance. Like I can feel when I've been taking it every single day, like I'm just showing up better at the gym and with my kind of day to day. And it helps improve endurance while fueling cellular repair regeneration for faster recovery. Like that's pretty rad. It shows an improvement in fitness endurance by 20% decreased recovery time. That's wild, y'all. That's a really, really cool. So we've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 15% off your first order. I just bought the massive jug. They just came out with a new one. Yes, I did just subscribe to that. So if you go to tryarmra.com/Sabrina or enter Sabrina, you get 15% off your first order. So that's tryarmra.com/Sabrina. And the reason I wanted us to even just talk about online safety and catfishing is one, because like, yes, you either kind of know it or you don't, right? Like I think some people, but also because we have a lot of folks that like we forget that dating apps, like for me, I don't know about you, I'm not going to speak for everybody. For me personally, when I moved to New York, I had just turned 19. Like I was like a day, it happened. I was a child. Okay, I'm aging myself. OkCupid had just come out of like, what's this? And I remember like, this is when you still go to a bar and meet somebody and you met through friends. So it was exciting because you're like, oh, so I was bred into that. I saw the generations of them, Tinder and Plenty of Fish and Coffee Meets Bagel and all the fucking ones that have come since. But there are a lot of people that have never been on a dating app that are newly divorced, coming out of a marriage of 20 years and like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I think for us, I'd like to hear, especially your perspective, because you've seen so much on because some people will send me in stuff and I'm like, it's so obviously a catfish and they don't know.
Yeah.
If you could share a little bit of like, what are things to look out for? The why, I don't think many of us will ever really know. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people's why and it breaks your heart no matter what. But talk to me all things catfishing when it comes to these online profiles, because I got really proficient in finding it, but your girl still got catfished a couple of times by people that are really fucking good at lying.
Yeah. No, people are really good at lying even if you meet them in person.
Correct.
So like
that's true.
To be duped by somebody that you've met on the internet is not uncommon. It actually is more common than people even like to admit. Yeah. And I will run into people randomly or even people that I know who will be like, "Can I tell you something? I've been catfished." And like but they don't talk about it outwardly. So it's like, it's not happening. It's happening. I do want to preface this with when I met my boyfriend, it was my first time on a dating app and I was terrified. Terrified.
Well, at least with Raya, you have the Instagram and it's connected. So you're like, okay, if they have a blue check, it's them.
But I still think that no matter what app you're on, no matter what you're doing, you need to cross-reference.
Oh, yeah.
You have to cross-reference. Just looking at their profile is not enough.
No.
Just because they sent you one Instagram profile that has like 25 followers on it, not enough. That could be a burner account that they created that's not even their real account. So that they could just say like,
so many of those.
I've seen so many crazy things. Google them. Like when I talk to people about Googling people, they look at me like I have 10 heads. Yeah. They're like, I'm not going to Google them. That's so invasive. Google is free. And if you're not going to use that outlet to figure out if the person that you're about to go spend private time with is an axe murderer or not.
Thank God to Google. Years ago when I was in New York, I found out a guy had been arrested for rape. And and I did not go out with him. And it's something, your spidey sense, something told me in my gut. He was a little too pushy about where he wanted to go.
No.
I was like 24, but I knew better. Something in my gut, I was like, something feels off. And sure enough, it was like one random link, like a link at the bottom. And it was his rap sheet from another state. And I was like,
wow.
No, ma'am.
Wow.
Because even on Bumble, you can have a blue check. That does not mean you're actually the person. That just means you're a human. It doesn't mean you're that human.
And that's the thing. I think that apps are trying to do better. I know Tinder has like a verification service, but it doesn't fucking matter. Do your research. Do your
diligence.
Research. I do research on every person that I meet. I don't give a shit who it is.
100%. Ryan always like, get a Google Meet number.
Yeah.
Don't give your fucking phone away.
You don't have to give your phone away. You can get a text app number. You don't have to do anything that you're not comfortable with doing. But before you go to spend some time with someone in real life, you have to double check
100%.
To make sure that that person is real. I think that we as human beings have, this goodness in us that wants to see the goodness in other people. I'm here to tell you that you need to see people for exactly who they are and let them prove to you that they're a good person.
Yep.
You have to Google them. You have to.
At the very least, look up a phone number. Look up their phone.
Look them up.
Even Ryan, he always suggested, like, because we had a client and one of my clients, she was a doctor, very big in her community. And she was like, I don't really want people like to be able to figure out who I am. And so the first thing he said, he was like, then don't use a photo that somebody could reverse image search and find out what hospital you work at.
Yeah.
You know, be cognizant of the photos that you're using. Don't have a photo where you're in front of your apartment and it's very clear that you're, and you can figure out where you live.
Well, that's another thing. I'm very, very big on not posting. First of all, not posting where you are when you're there. I post after I leave.
Yep.
Anywhere.
Change
all
the
the
geotag
time.
every time.
All the time.
Yeah.
People will be like, oh my God, like you're posting this hotel review, but you're still there. That's so unsafe. Baby, this is not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been there for a week.
I haven't been there for 12 days minimum. Like, please don't worry about me. You do not have to worry about me. But like, I don't even post outside of my window in my apartment. Like I would never. It is too easy. I think that people also forget this part. It is so easy to find people in today's day and age. It is so easy to find you. I could find you where you went to high school, where your family lives, who they voted for. Everything. I can find whatever I need to find out about you on the internet. There are pages dedicated to, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy on TikTok who people will be like, tell me where I am.
Yeah, and he just take like a photo in the street.
And like, it'll be like the smallest piece of the street and he will find your exact location.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be safe online and people underestimate how unsafe it can be online. And I also say this while also promoting that people should be on dating apps seeing what's out there, but you need to be careful.
You need to be a better buyer.
You have to be a better buyer. You can't be out here just like giving all the info away for free.
No, if like off the bat, anybody asks for money, anybody that only wants to text you and not make any fucking phone calls. You want to do a vibe check? Do a FaceTime. I've done that.
Yeah.
Especially when I was like, hey, I've been open to guys. I'm like, you're either way too attractive. Because like when I first moved to LA, you know, you're like, this is an influencer. Like this person has a blue check. So usually what I'd do is like, if we were chatting, I'd even be like, I'd DM them and be like, hey, I just want to make sure this is you.
Yeah.
I don't want to put myself in a precarious situation. Or I'd cross-check the phone number. Or I would always be like, hey, let's do a vibe check, FaceTime. I want to make sure that you are, if I got any kind of pushback, any kind of bullshit, oh no, to me, then it's just abort mission.
Yeah. Even guys that I would meet in person, if you want to give me your phone number, cool, you can give me your phone number. You better put your first and last name in that phone. And I dated a guy once who only put his first name in my phone, and I legit gave him back the phone, and I was like, I said first and last name. And he was like, what, are you going to Google me? I was like, yes.
Yeah, actually. What's like that Risa Teesa.
Yeah.
Like that story where you're like, okay, I get it. All of us can be susceptible. And I'm not saying that like she didn't do her due diligence. Like, I don't know what her story was. Like that part of it.
Yeah.
But it's like, anybody, and that's why I love when people are like, I've been with them for 2 months and they're for me, and I'm like, you don't know shit about fuck and about anybody.
You don't know shit about fuck is exactly how I feel on a regular basis.
Oh yeah, like
you don't
know anything, because it's like then you hear like I had my friend last night was telling me at dinner how like she dated this guy for like 4 months, and her sister was reading his chart and was like, no, he has anger issues, and she's like, I swear, like he doesn't have anger issues. I have seen
3 months later.
It's exactly 3 months later. It was literally like a week later, and she's like, I saw a side to him I had never seen.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you take time to date someone.
Thank you. That's what happens when you go slow. To anybody listening, that's like, and I get that every day. Like, what does it mean to go slow? I'm curious. What do you think it means to go slow?
I think a lot of people, when they hear go slow, they automatically assume it means don't fuck on the first date or like don't have sex with them early. I don't think that it really makes a difference.
It doesn't.
I really don't think that it makes a difference.
Can I be the person to be like, hello? like
it makes no difference.
We did that.
But to me, going slow means actually like lifting up every rock and looking under it. You don't actually see the signs, and we ignore red flags every single day. And I'm guilty of it. Like dating someone, knowing that something in my gut is like, but being like, no.
Whatever, grows a stomach ache.
Yeah. Please, no, it's not even that serious. Like, yeah, every time I see him, I get like really bad diarrhea, but it's just the butterflies. It's just butterflies.
It's in season.
It's anxiety, babe.
Yeah.
Like they're making your nervous system feel unsafe. To me, I think going slow is just really paying attention to how your body feels when you're with someone. Yeah. You know, do you feel more at peace? Do you feel like you can relax? Like, do you feel like you can eat? Do you feel like you can sleep?
Yeah,
These are things that
met?
I ignored in the past where
Same.
like I'm dealing with someone and I'm literally losing weight because I can't eat. Like
Yeah.
I can't eat. Like, have you ever felt like that?
Oh yeah, that's dysregulation.
Yes, where you
Yeah.
feel like this like it's almost like your stomach has been raised up
Mm-hmm.
and everything that you eat is just like, oh, that's enough. Like, because you're not safe with this person.
No.
That's why they always talk about like relationship weight, because when you're feeling comfortable and you like eat a bunch of bullshit, that's what me and my boyfriend do, at least.
Yeah. Because you're safe, you're comfortable.
You're safe, you're comfortable, you feel good, you're getting good sleep, like you can rest with this person. That's what I think is like taking things slow. It's just like really, really figuring out who this person is, finding more about them. I feel like with my boyfriend now, that is the first time, and maybe it's the frontal lobe situation, but that was the first time that I really feel like I took things slow in a relationship. We started dating and weren't really like going out as much because I realized that other people that I had dated in the past, I had met them while I was like out at like parties or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not real life in my opinion.
No. It's
I
fantasy.
need to know how you are when we are quiet in the house, like with no TV on. What are you like then? Because like Netflix and chill is cool, but like how are you when there's nothing on?
Right.
When we're like playing I don't know, a board game or
When you
something
take the
like
mask
that.
off, it's like, who are you really?
Who are you really? Like, let's really have real conversations. And I do feel like that's what allowed us to fall in love with each other so deeply, is just like we really knew who one another was by the time he asked me to like be in a relationship. We had already made things exclusive. And then by the time he asked me to quote unquote be his girlfriend, which he didn't actually say, will you be my girlfriend? He said that he saw a future for us together and that he wanted to start that now.
You're
And
like,
like,
are you
how
asking
do
me
I
to be
feel
my
about
girlfriend?
exactly? But it's also because we had a conversation where I told him that I'm not a girlfriend. Like I'm not here to be anyone else's girlfriend. I'm here to be a wife. Like I want a marriage. I don't want to do the girlfriend boyfriend thing again. Although I do call him my boyfriend, but it's just like,
that's a step between
yeah,
before you didn't just like
exactly.
go to the altar at that moment.
For
But
me, it was about intention.
Exactly.
And so like going slow also is figuring out what someone's intentions truly are, because sometimes you think that you're on the same page and you realize that you are so far apart.
and sometimes you might think that you could be, and then as you date, you're like, actually, no, I don't see that with you.
I don't want that with you.
You're a
actually.
human.
Yeah.
To me, what I see going slow is it's not an excuse for bad behavior.
Yeah,
Right. It's
no.
not just a like, oh, we only see each other once a month and we text once every 2 weeks. You're like, that's not going slow. That's not being intentional.
Yeah.
What it is you're not expediting the stages of a relationship quicker than they need to be based on how long you've known. Like the pinch doesn't match the ouch.
Yes.
So like when I met Ryan, after about a month and a half, he was like, hey, I don't want to date anyone else. And he just did a kind of his version of the reveal of like, I want to delete the apps. Great. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Like I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
Then maybe like 2 weeks later, we smoke a lot of weed and he got high as fuck. And he turns around one day and goes, will you be my girlfriend? And I just looked at him and I uttered, I was like, no. And he stopped and he was like, oh. And I just stopped and I said, okay, let me explain.
Oh my God, this conversation while high would have sent me into another dimension.
Me and I had him
I'd
like,
be like, wait.
I was, and he laughed to this day. He's like, sometimes you just got to do it. And I'm like, yeah, apparently.
Oh.
But it was more that then when we had a conversation, because I was like, I even said the same. I was like, can we be sober? I was like, let's talk about it over dinner.
Yes.
And when we went to dinner, I said this. I said, I care very deeply about you. I was like, but you have not really opened up to me. I don't know your vulnerabilities. I haven't really been able to see that side of you. And hello, you met me. I'm very open and expressive and vulnerable, and let's talk. And I said, here's a very clear roadmap. If you'd like me to be your girlfriend, then I need to see more of you. I need to see you open up. And I think what we should do is go on a trip. Let's do something together to get us out of this environment. And so we started just doing things. He was like, okay, valid. And so he started becoming more emotionally open with me and having conversations like that because he was like, hey, I know that that's what you're going to need. So then 2 months later, like a month and a half later, when he said, would you be my girlfriend? I was like, yeah. I was like, I know more about you.
Yeah.
Because, girl, I don't know about you. I've had way too many. They're here, they work, I'll have a boyfriend. And then 6 months, 9 months in, you're like, I don't even like you that much.
Oh, that happens. That used to happen to me all the time.
Right? Because it's like you want safety, you want exclusivity.
Yeah.
Let me just get it because then I don't have to date.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I'd rather be alone than in bad company.
Yeah. I've said this, my friends have said that I'm savage for this, but like, I don't believe in telling people what they want to hear just because they said it to you. So like, my boyfriend told me that he loved me 3 times before I said it back.
Yeah.
And the first time he said it, he was drunk.
Yeah, you're like, man, we'll come back to that.
No. Well, I was like, okay, sit down. Let me get you some water.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the second and third time were in like intimate moments.
Right.
And to me, I just couldn't say it back because I felt that in that moment, but I'm like, let me really gauge like what this is like. So by the time I said it to him, he was like, no, you don't. I've said it to you multiple times and you haven't said it back. And I was like, no, I felt it, but I wanted to make sure that I really felt it before I said it. And
I appreciate that.
yeah. And I think he appreciated it too, because like sometimes I feel like we get caught up in just saying what the other person says and like, no.
Well, it's like when Ryan asked me to be his girlfriend, and I was like, I could just say yes because no. I was like, why am I going to lie to you and bullshit you now?
No.
We've been this far.
Yeah.
It's like,
no. And it can wait. I was like, I want to have this conversation about being in love or loving each other. That's a real thing for me.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to say that to someone, I want it to be like without any, I don't even know what the word would be. I don't want there to be anything in the way or anything that's influencing this decision other than just like pure feelings.
Yeah.
Alcohol, sex, let's like throw that to the side. How do we really feel about each other? Like,
strip it all
do you
away.
really feel this way? Do I really feel this way? We do? Okay, great. Once you've waited it out and you both agree, now you get to say I love you all the time.
All the time. It's the same with the texting stuff when girls will be like, but you know, if he doesn't start off by texting me every day, and it's like,
Oh my God.
But you know what? You can also build to that.
Sabrina, after we met, I sent your videos to multiple of my friends who are dating, and they hated me for it.
Of course.
And they hated you for it.
Of course.
And they were like, she's absolutely right.
This bitch is onto something.
That's
They're like,
literally what my sister said. She was like, why the fuck would you send me her page? Everything she said is true. I'm like, yes, because I agree. When I first started dating my boyfriend, did I want him to fucking text me every morning?
Yes.
I wanted him to worship my feet every day. But guess what? He didn't know me like that.
Now he does.
Now he does. And now he does it.
Exactly.
But like, the expectations are so high. This circles back to our original conversation about like what's wrong with dating right now.
That.
Our expectations are through the roof for people that we don't even know.
No.
And they don't know us. You are not owed a good morning text every morning by a stranger.
That's like when you and I met, if me being like, I don't understand, Kamie, why aren't you texting me every day? It's like, you don't do that to your friends.
No.
You're like, yeah, I haven't spoken to you in a couple of weeks. Oh my God, good to see you. Right. And you just get back on it. But yet all of a sudden, when it comes to this, well, that's part of that high value bullshit of like, well, if I see one more time, like if a man doesn't text you every day, there was one guy who made a fucking video that went crazy viral. And of course, all the comments are like, yes. And he's like, if you're dating somebody and he doesn't contact you for a day, he doesn't care about you. You could be dead on the side of the street. He doesn't give a fuck about you.
Now I have to die in this scenario?
Exactly. And I was like, wait a minute. So now, but how did he know I was dead? Right? Like, how do you know I'm on this side? You could have the worst day ever. He doesn't even care enough to check in with you. And it's like, wait, come back here. Where's the nuance? How long you known this person?
Yeah.
How many dates have you been on?
Honestly, is this your boyfriend?
Is this your boyfriend? Or is this a guy that you had 2 dates with and you haven't fucking heard from him in 2 weeks and now you're free?
Yeah.
Because usually we only obsess over what's not safe.
And I say to my friends too, and I think I got this from you, like the power in them being able to make their decision about whether or not they want to date you is that you also have the same power.
Stop waiting for them to choose you and maybe choose yourself so that you can also make a fucking choice.
Yeah. Why are you waiting on them? Like, okay, they haven't texted you in 2 weeks. You've been sitting around waiting for their text for 2 weeks.
No, you get back out there.
Going on other dates and keeping your options open. Even though when I met my boyfriend, I knew as soon as I saw him pop up on that ride, I said, this is mine. Okay, I'm a Scorpio. I was like, me, this is it.
Done.
I made him think that I had other options.
Of course.
Even though I didn't. And not in a rude way, just in a way of like, for myself, I had to trick my mind.
You don't attach.
Into believing that I was going to keep my options open. So whether that meant like going out with other guys or just like still being on the app, seeing what's out there, I'm preoccupying my time. I'm not sitting here waiting for your every single call. Like, no, I'm busy.
No.
I'm busy. Oh, you want to take me out Friday night? I'm not available Friday night. But Saturday night, I could do something.
It's like, it's not a game. You're like, no, I'm living my life. And I get to choose if you fit into it.
Yes.
And I think that's if we can leave you with anything, build a fucking life for you that you love, build a life that you enjoy, build a life, because then my mom always just say, you're good before them, you'll be good after. And so many people will go, but I wasn't good before them. And I'm like, but yet you seem to think that with them, all of a sudden you're going to be great.
And my mom used to always say,
give me mama. I have so many of like my mama used to say.
My mama used to say, do not be the girl that's at every party. And I think that it can be used in so many different things when it comes to dating. She was just always like, do not be the girl that's at every single party. Every single Friday they know, oh, Cammie's going to be there. I can see Kamie there. No, skip a few Fridays. So they can be like, oh my God, I came last Friday. I thought you were going to be here and you weren't. And I couldn't wait to see you. Well, I'm here now. Like, you don't have to be so available all the time.
Yes.
Make yourself scarce.
Yeah, authentically.
Yeah,
like actually fill your life with stuff.
Yes.
Not the like, oh, well, he took 6 hours to respond. So Jesus fuck.
It's not a game. Don't play these. You don't need to play games to like.
Two women sitting in front of you with very healthy, secure relationships that are progressing in a really beautiful way are both coming to say, strip the games, stop with the clickbait bullshit, stop listening to these people that shame you for wanting to do, like, but also start to work on yourself. Do the work.
Yeah.
Don't come after me now. But start to actually invest in yourself in some fucking way so that you can show up authentically. Like, I want to show up how I want other people to show up for me. Do I want someone insecure? Do I want somebody that's constantly overthinking? And that's okay if you are. Again, there is no shame. I was her. But you can work through that to then become the her that you actually want to show up as. Oh, Kamie girl, we could talk all fucking day, but thank you so much for being on. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And where can people find you? I mean, it's going to be linked, but.
Yes. Well, I'm on all social media platforms. All social media platforms. All social media platforms at Kamie Crawford. And then the podcast Relationship. We air every Friday on everywhere you get your podcasts.
Perfect. So they can listen to the Sabrina Zohar show.
Yes.
And then they can listen to Relationship because both of them come out Friday. And now you guys have the best way to start your weekend.
Exactly.
Until next time.
Empowered.
Thanks, girl.